Hello everyone, my name is Tyler Myrose, developer advocate here at SailPoint. And in this talk, we're going to be talking about getting started with event triggers. So what is an event trigger? We could talk about what an event is first. So the result of any action performed in a service would be an event. Services like Identity Security Cloud create these events all the time, like when an identity is created, when it's deleted, source aggregation results, if you sign off on a certification campaign. All of these are events that you may want to react to. You may not be interested in all of these events, but event triggers allow you to subscribe to specific events that when they happen, they'll get a trigger and send you data related to that event. So how do event triggers differ from maybe like APIs and requesting that data? As I said, event triggers are kind of passive. So once you subscribe to an event trigger, you'll only get an update when that event happens. Whereas if you were trying to do it with an API, you could call that API, maybe wait 5 seconds, call it again, see if that action completed, read through the response. But that kind of causes a lot of overhead. So event triggers are really good for getting near real-time updates when that event happens. So you can think of this also like maybe receiving like news updates. So if you did this manually, you go to a news website, maybe click on the sports area, click on your team you want to follow, and you can like subscribe to like news updates when like scores happen or games are over. So those kind of things, like when the game's over, they'll send you an update. You can subscribe to that. That's kind of like an event trigger. So when would you want to use event triggers? Like I said, it's best to use event triggers when you want to react to events in real time. If you need that data when an identity is created or deleted, if you want something to happen right then and there, that's a great time to use event triggers. So I'm going to go to our screen here and show you some documentation on event triggers. So I will go to, I have developer.sailpoint.com up here. If I click on or hover over the documentation and Identity Security Cloud, these will be under extensibility and event triggers. So we have a lot of documentation here about all the different trigger types, what event triggers are again. We have so all the available event triggers, any early access event triggers that you might want to use that are coming out. But let's go ahead and see how this would work in the code. So what I'll do is we have a project on our open source GitHub repository. So I'm just going to go back to the root of our repository here and search for this so you can see where to find it. If I just start typing like event, this first one here, the event trigger examples. So let's go ahead and download that on my machine. And I'll just do a git clone. That'll clone that down, and I'll go and open that up in VS Code. All right, so this app is just a Node.js kind of like Express server where we can listen to, or we kind of make routes that our event triggers will then push to, and then we can see the data coming from that event trigger. So let's take a look how this works. So we can see we got some authorization here. When you're setting up your event triggers, you'll want to add some kind of authorization so that you're authenticated when you pass that information to your service that you're going to be making decisions from. So we're going to use a really basic token method for this example, but let's go ahead and set that up. So I need to create a .env file, and I'm just gonna give a token value. I'm just gonna put a bunch of random stuff in here. Again, you would want to make this a little bit more defined and secure, but just for an example, this will work for us. Let's add. Let's see. We have identity attributes change trigger. Let's copy this and make a new one here. And we'll do it for if a form was submitted. I'm going to copy that down here in my log statement. So what this is going to do, it's an express route. So I'm going to tell Identity Security Cloud to basically send me a form submitted response event trigger, and then I'm going to log out the body of that event, so I can see it. So let's see. I'm going to now go. That is probably very small. So let's make that a little bigger. There we go. So again, here we go. Form submitted, and then we're going to log out that body. So let's go ahead and set this up in Identity Security Cloud. So under admin and event triggers, here's all of the available event triggers. So it looks like we got 29 to choose from, and here is the form submitted one right here. So I'm going to click subscribe to that. I'm just going to do Tyler local test. Subscription type is HTTP for this example, but we also do support Amazon Event Bridge. Integration URL. So this is the URL that you would want to send the data to. This needs to be publicly accessible. So I'm going to set up something real quick here that allow me to basically access my local host on this app over here, the event trigger example application. We're going to make that run on our local host, and then we're going to make a little public URL for forwarding traffic from the internet down to our little local host here. So let's set that up. So to do this, I'm using a service called pingy.io. Basically, it just creates that tunnel for me. So the command to do that is this right here. So it's going to forward the URL it gives back to my local host on port 8081. So if I start that up, this will only be good for 60 minutes, so this URL will go away, but that'll give me plenty of time to implement what we're trying to do here. So I'll copy that URL, and then that'll get us to just the base of the application, but we actually want to send it to /form submitted, the route form submitted. So we're going to copy that out and add that to the end here. Form submitted, perfect. The authentication type, again, we're just going to do the bearer token here, and then I'm going to paste that in from the env file I created over here. All right, that's perfect. I'm not going to do anything with filters, but you could filter out only certain events that you wanted to submit. Maybe you have a specific form, you could do that filtering here. Otherwise, it's going to, anytime a form is submitted, any form, it'll send data. So let's enable that, and I think we're all set up. Legal value null for bearer token. I have seen that before. Usually I can just cancel that and recreate it, and that goes away. Let's try that. Tyler local test. Should be token token. Let's get our URL again. Then add form dash submitted. Legal value null. Well, let's see if I just type it in. I'm going to make it something super short so I can just type it in. Let's do this. Slash form submitted bear token 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. All right. That's weird, but we'll figure that one out later. So okay, we have the form submitted trigger subscribed. We can go over and verify that is true by looking in our subscriptions. So here it is right here, Tyler local test, authentication bear token. And we can actually go ahead and send a test subscription, but we're not listening on the other side quite yet. So let's go ahead and set that up. So I want to cd into the Node.js app, do an npm install, so I get all the dependencies for this. You can see that happened really fast. There's not many for this project. And then I want to do an npm start. Okay, so it says we are listening on port 8081, and then we have that forwarding going on for the publicly accessible URL. So now I can send my test subscription. All right. So we can look in the activity log. We did see that this completed. We sent the event. And if I come back here, there's our example form submitted. We got some metadata, the form data. So yeah, it's as simple as that. So let's actually create a form and see this working kind of in real time here. So let's go create a form here. Let's do that under global forms. Let's do, oh, I already actually have it set up here, so that's perfect. But I'll kind of talk through it. Let's edit this in the builder. So basically, I've created a form here to just gather some user info for a basic example. So we have the first name, last name, email address, and just we can have a thing like send me a copy. But by default, it's no. But you could do something if you fill out a form and you want the user to get a copy of their responses. You could do like something with an event trigger to email them their responses after this was submitted. But we're going to kind of do something a little different. We're going to add this response to a Airtable database. So let's first get the response. So if I do, let's go back here. I've enabled this form in my SailPoint, so let's open that up. There we go. And so if I scroll down here, here's the example event trigger form. So I want to launch that. And so if I type in like Tyler Myrose, tyler.myrose at SailPoint, I'm just going to leave that empty. But if I submit this, that'll fire, okay, the form got submitted, and that'll come down to our application. So if I go back here, there we go, sweet. So we got the form submitted, some metadata about the form, and here's our example form data. So we got the email address, first name, last name, and send me a copy was false because that little ticker was set to false. Okay, so now all we were doing here was just logging out that body when a form was submitted. So now let's make it submit to Airtable. So I have a Airtable base over here. It's just a kind of like a database in the web. So I got a first name, last name, and email address. So I'm just going to add another record here. So let's take a look at how to do that. So the first things first is we want to install the dependencies for Airtable. So let's do that with npm install Airtable. All right, so that went and got our Airtable package. So that's let's include that up here. Let's do var Airtable equals require Airtable. And then I'm just going to copy this over. I have a API key already set up, and then the base is right here. So the base is just that table in Airtable, and you can see that by, if I click back here, this base in the URL will match up exactly to that what I have over here. Okay, so now we have the base. Let's go back down to where our form was submitted and send it to Airtable. So let's do base. It's kind of helping me out there. I think form responses is what our base table is called. Let's make sure that's right. Yeah, form responses. Base form responses. We want to create a new record. And we'll send that an array of records. So Airtable, you can send more than one record at a time to be created, but for this example, we're just going to create one. So we'll do fields. And the fields are our first name is equal to, let's see where that came back as. Oh, I already got rid of it in my terminal. But I think if I remember correctly, it was, so we're logging out the request.body. And I believe it was form data, and then the key from the form, so first name. I'll do the same thing for last name. Got some GitHub Copilot happening here. Email address, form data.email, and the key was email address. Okay. So this will create a record, and then this is going to return a promise of that when it was actually in fact submitted to Airtable. It'll give me that response back. So we can do, let's see, error response, and then let's do something if. Let's do if error. We'll just log that. Otherwise, we'll log that record created successfully. Cool. So let's test this out. Let's see if this actually works. So what I'd be looking to happen is when I submit the form on Identity Security Cloud, it will trigger that event trigger. It'll send us the form submitted event. It will then record that record in Airtable, and that's just a basic example. So let's see if this does in fact work. So I gotta start this up again. My new code changes. And I will go back to, let's continue SailPoint. Go back to the form. I'm just gonna use, I already have Tyler Myers in there, so I'm just gonna do my middle name instead. So Tyler James, Tyler.James at sailpoint.com. This won't do anything. I'm just going to send this as yes this time, but let's send that off. Okay, so request was submitted, form was submitted. And here we go. We got email address as tyler.james@sailpoint.com. First name is Tyler, last name James, and send me a copy was true. So that did come through that time. And then it did, in fact, create a record. So I got the record back with the ID, but let's make sure that's true over here. And there we go. So there's the record showing up. So this first one here was just a fire and forget. There is, in fact, another type of trigger, which is response requested. So when you send off your event, Identity Security Cloud is basically looking, I want a decision back to Identity Security Cloud. So let's look at that quick. I'll try and get through this whole example here. So I'm going to go to Event Triggers, and I'm going to subscribe to Access Request Submitted. So Tyler, local request. The HTTP, we want the HTTP type again. And I want, let's see, this is my URL. And then I want to send it to this one here, this route here. So an async access request pre-approval. So what this will do is it'll get an access request, and if we want to automatically approve that access request, we can do that with this trigger. So maybe if certain criteria are matched, we can then process the access request and automatically approve it. So just to show how this works, basically we're going to approve any request that comes through for right now, but this process access request will look in the metadata of the event trigger, and since it is a response required trigger, it'll give you where to send that response. So let's take a look at this in action. So the response type I want to be asynchronous. Let's see here. I think this P1D. All right, so for ones that require you to respond, you have to give it a response deadline in ISO 601 format. So I'm just going to give it the default one here. And then authentication type, is the bearer token again. That's just that one I set up. Very simple. All right, I think that's set up correctly. Let's save that. Get the same result as last time. Well, last time, if I did it enough times, it eventually went through, so let's try that again. Tyler request. Let's do async. D H. And then I actually have to add my route. I don't know if I did that last time, so maybe it's a good thing it didn't go through. Come on, nice. All right. So now we have that other subscription in here that when a access request is submitted, we'll get that and we can process it. So let's quickly go over to the request center. I'm just going to do a request for others, and we'll pick Ann Arnold. Why not? I'm going to request the role. Let's see. We'll do this London Wi-Fi too. So I'm going to click this to request that role. Let's review the request. Let's see. We can just add a comment. Why is this access needed? She needs access to this feature or this role. So let's submit that. Okay, we got a comment there, and let's submit the request. Okay, so the request was submitted. That should have fired off our trigger, and we should have got that over here. Let's scroll down. Okay, here it is. So, okay, here's our callback URL. So as I said there, the callback URL is where you would send the response back if you wanted this to, in fact, complete. We got the response mode, the secret. So this is uniquely generated for each type of response required. So you can be sure that you are the one responding using that secret. We can see who the request was from. It was requested by me and requested for Anne right here, and what was requested. So cool. And then we send back a response here using that secret and URL. So if I go down here, we're doing a post back to that URL using the metadata URL and secret. Saying that approved was true. The comment was this request was auto-approved by our automated ETS subscriber. So and then gives an approver. So let's make sure that this actually worked. If I go back to the request center, view my requests, and cool. All right, so there's the request. It was approved, and I can look in the comments here to see it was, in fact, approved by my automatic approval. So, cool. That was a little fast, but I was able to get through that one. But yeah, this is just a basic 2 examples of getting started with event triggers. As always, please let us know if anything's not working right, or maybe you want a new access or new event trigger to come through. Let us know about what you'd like to see. So yeah, I encourage you to go explore the documentation, download the example project, and just try it out.